Welcome back to Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. I'm James, your co-host, and this is episode 28. We're starting a brand new book, Katabasis by R.F. Kuang, and this week we're covering chapters 1 through 7. But before we dive in, here's a quick look at our reading schedule for the rest of the book. It's going to be in 5 parts. September 7th through 13th, chapters 8 through 14. September 14th through the 20th, chapters 15 and through 21. September 21 to 27, chapters 22 and 28 through 28. And September 28th through October 4th, chapters 29 through 35. And the podcast will release on the last day of each of those weeks. So we are really excited to dig into this one with you. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Miranda, who's here to tell us about her last 3 weeks, because we've been off that long, and what she's been reading, if anything. Miranda?
Hello. Yes, forgive me because if you're watching, maybe you've noticed I'm in a different place, so I didn't move. So forgive me because my microphone is in one of the boxes that's currently stuck in Colorado right now on its way to New Mexico. So sorry for the technical deficiency. But yeah, no, my last 3 weeks has been pretty much that, moving. I moved. So like last week was all getting everything out and packing up. This past weekend, I did a lot with my friends, had a going away party, really fun, and did some other last hurrahs. And that's about it. I mean, I read a little bit of the book that I've been reading, Olga Dies Dreaming, but once we got to the last 2 weeks of being in New York City, that that fell to the wayside because busy. I was busy cleaning out, packing up, and saying bye to everybody. So yeah, been a bit of an emotional past week, but I'm settling in nicely so far. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it for me. How was your
My,
week?
my last 3 weeks have been same old, just working, and that's about it. I don't think I've read anything either. Been slacking.
Really?
Well, so the book club at work was supposed to meet tomorrow, but not everybody has read the book yet, so they pushed it back a
Mm.
week, which is a good thing because I put it on hold at the library and I just got it. It just came off hold, so I can go pick it up. I picked it up. Well, I picked it up a couple days ago,
Mhm.
so I'll start reading that this weekend because I need to get that read before next Friday. Other than that, let's see. I finished the Daggerheart rule book that I was reading for an RPG, so I guess that counts as a book. So that's about it, though. Otherwise, I've just been watching TV, watching Babylon 5 again, which is my favorite science fiction show of all time.
Okay.
And I'm
What made
actually
you
started, huh?
what made you start watching that again?
Well, that's what I was about to say is that I actually wanted to write a D&D campaign based on that show. So I started watching it again.
Mm.
And I've actually started that campaign. So
Got it,
hopefully I'll get it done
it.
by the end of the year because I would like to play it next year with some people.
That's cool. I was actually talking about D&D with one of my friends before I left because she's in like a D&D type group with some other
Oh, yeah.
girls, and they do like something like that. Yeah, which was
Yeah,
really cute.
D&D has been becoming pretty big.
Mhm.
So there's like these shows on YouTube, like one's called, the most popular one is called Critical Role. It's a bunch of voice actors that play D&D.
Mhm.
So it's like really good. And so, that's been around for 10 years, but it's really come into, I guess, over the pandemic, people were looking for stuff to do. They started watching it even more and more people started watching it. So D&D has become much more popular than it used to be. I mean, I remember the days when you wouldn't even bring up the subject of D&D. Because, I started playing in middle school in the 80s. So back then was the big, they had that one movie made by Tom Hanks, which was putting D&D down and cultish type behavior or whatever. Stupid shit.
See.
But anyway, so that's what I've been doing the last 3 weeks.
That's cool. So you're still doing research for a creative project.
Right. Right. We can put it that way. Yeah. So not as much reading, although there are some, like I may just start reading some D&D books. We'll see. Still a reading. It's still a book to read, so I think it counts. It's not a
Sure.
fiction, it's not a fictional story per se, but still, some of those books are pretty tough reads. They're big. Anyway, let's move on to Katabasis, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's so many different pronunciations out there of it, but I think the way R.F. Kuang pronounces is Katabasis.
Yeah. But you shared that video with me, and she's talking about how she
Oh,
doesn't
right,
really care how you pronounce it, because
right,
to her it's like you're reading a book and that's all that matters. Right? Like, who
right.
cares? Like, why are we putting people down? And I guess English is her second language, right?
Well, yeah, right. 'Cause she's
Yeah.
Chinese.
Yeah. So she's like, so I was pronouncing things wrong all the time. So who
Yeah.
cares? So we love that about this author. We love this author. I'm very excited to talk about this book as of
Yes.
these first 7 chapters.
All right. Well, let's get going. We'll start with chapter 1. So the story opens in Cambridge. This is in the UK, not the US, where Alice Law, a doctoral candidate in analytic magic, is attempting to descend into hell. She is interrupted by Peter Murdoch, a prodigy who, as it turns out, also intends to go to hell. Their goal is to retrieve their professor, Jacob Grimes, who has apparently died and gone there. The truth, however, is that Alice caused his death. Through exhaustion, she misdrew a pentagram during one of his experiments, and the mistake tore him apart. Between chapters, we also glimpse Alice's past and how she became driven to study analytic magic and pursue a scholar's path. So the one thing they don't talk about here is, why do they just assume that Jacob Grimes went to hell?
Well, we kind of get into that later in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. That was just an open-ended question.
Well, sure. I also was thinking that too at first. I was like, damn, like they just were like, he has to be there.
Yeah, right.
Because our normal notion of hell before we get into what it is in this story is, that's the bad place you go to. That's where bad people go. So yeah, I also was like, huh, kind of funny that we're just like, yeah, duh, he went to hell, so that's where we're going. No alternative. Yeah, automatically, like from the beginning, I love how Huang is just diving right in here at the start. Like Alice is already going to hell when we start this book. And I like how she gives the backstory like throughout the chapters as opposed to like a bunch of exposition beforehand. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
like how I just kinda jumped in right as
right.
Alice's journey is starting, as
Yeah,
opposed to, like, "I was in blah, 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 and then he died, and then now I'm going to hell." It was like, she's going. And I think that's really effective at catching attention, but it almost was to the point where even within, like, the first 3 pages, I was like, "Wait, did I miss something?" Which I kinda liked because it keeps me on my toes. Also, we know, and you listeners should know this too if you don't, that Kuang is a scholar. And we were already talking about it before we started. Dad, you're just having to look up some words
oh yeah,
because she's using big, big words. And a lot of times, too, well, at least in Babel, she always had footnotes. She had
right. I missed
footnotes
the
in
footnotes.
Babel.
I wish this book had
Yeah.
footnotes.
But I remember maybe I watched an interview or something, or maybe she said it because I actually went when ARFCON was in New York City a couple years ago. Remember, I
Yeah.
went to that book signing, so I was there for a discussion on Babel. And I think it was either there or another something that I watched that she was saying people like hated the footnotes.
Oh yeah. I've seen videos of people
Yeah,
complaining about the footnotes.
people hate the footnotes, so she took them out, and now we're like, wait, maybe we missed the footnotes because what is she talking about?
I do. I like the footnotes in Babel.
Yeah, I like them too. I don't mind footnotes.
I mean, they weren't just normal footnotes either. They had a little bit of extra in there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so Kwong's a scholar, and immediately on page 2, she's already mentioning Dante and T.S. Eliot and Orpheus, and telling us that their journeys to hell actually happened in this world, in the world that this book is. And that's how her and Peter have figured out how to get there and mapped it all out based on their different interpretations of those journeys to hell. And I think that that is fucking awesome because I'm a big literature girly. I read Dante's Inferno when I was in high school. I had to read it for the IB program. And I'm also really excited about all the philosophy discourse we're going to get in this book because that's also really big in Dante and Dante's Inferno. And we talked about this before we got on here, but I was going to ask you, like, if you've read Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, and I have not.
No, and he has not.
No.
Should definitely read it. So when I was in high school, it was junior year, is when we had to read Dante's Inferno. And our English teacher, everybody loved our English teacher. Our English teacher was like the best. And he, which I think I told you this maybe last time we talked, but he made Dante's Inferno really fun to read because he made a video game. He made like a silly little video game for the book. And so each time we would read a section, we would go through the video game with him. So it was like Dante going through all the different levels of hell in the video game.
Okay.
Which was just fun and silly because, we were like 17 and no one wanted to read, right?
Right.
And a lot of the times I don't even know if I actually fully read the whole thing because he would put so much of the stuff in the video game that you didn't really need to, which was also kind of the point. It was kind of like a study guide / video game. So it made it really fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it made it really fun to read. So shout out to Mr. Nance. He was a really good English teacher and he made Dante's Inferno really cool to read. But also, I remember even without that, like enjoying this idea of this descent into hell, which is what Katabasis means. We looked up right before this. It's the Greek word for descending or journeying downward. So anyway, but in Dante's Inferno, he talks a lot about how all of the philosophers are in hell because they're so full of themselves. But yeah, I think it's really cool that in this world that actually happened, that Dante actually went to hell. And not only Dante, but like Orpheus and everybody who writes about journeying down to the underworld actually did. And it's historical context. And so each one, both Alice and Peter, have both read a lot of the same stuff about it, but have these different interpretations of it, which is really cool and philosophical. And I love it.
All right. Chapter 2. Alice and Peter finally reach hell, a bleak expanse of endless fine gray sand, dimly lit and hard to see through. As they travel, they encounter shades. Shades are like people's souls or whatever you want to say they are. Once students of Professor Grimes, these shades that they meet, they were students of Professor Grimes. They were killed 30 years ago during a failed experiment. The shades direct them toward a distant white building where a long line of souls waits for reincarnation. When Alice and Peter ask why they aren't entering, the shades explain it's better to remain as they are. These are the souls that were killed, that were his students, sorry. As magicians, reincarnation could strip them of their gifts or even deny them literacy in their next life. With that, the shades vanish, leaving Alice and Peter to continue toward the building. So yeah, it was kind of funny. Those guys, they're like, we don't want to be reincarnated because we may not be magicians again.
Yeah, they're like, they're like, we might be stupid. We don't want to be reincarnated and be stupid. Yeah. So we're getting a big sense here of how important it is to be a magician to these characters in this world, maybe. I mean, Alice and Peter have both given up half their lifetime to be successful magicians because that's the price that they pay to go to hell, is they have to like pay half their lifetime. So basically if they survive hell, they come back up. If they were supposed to live to 65, if they're only supposed to live to 60, they're only going to live to 30, right? Like that's how that works now, which is crazy, which is like absolutely insane.
I think it was half of the rest of their lifetime.
Okay, half of the rest of their life.
30 now and they're going to live to 60, then they would only live to 45.
Right. Whatever. Yeah. They've given up half their lifetime to go find this professor to help them with their papers.
Right.
That's insane. That is an insane thing to do.
Right, because the whole reason, I guess we didn't really go into that in chapter 1, the whole reason they're going to find him is because they have to get their dissertation and stuff done, and they only want him to be the one that they defend it against because he's such a big time magician.
Yeah, because he's like best magician that was alive, right, at that
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that they can be the most successful magicians that they can be, is by working with this one guy. So all these shades are so afraid of being unimportant that they refuse to reincarnate. It's interesting to me that Grimes, though, seems like he's trying to get through hell as fast as possible and reincarnate. Like, that's
Yeah.
an interesting, because he's the best magician of his time, but he's like, no, I'm ready to get fucked through this. I'm ready to reincarnate to the next life. Which, going back to your question, like, how do they know that he was in hell? It kind of answers it here. Hell's not so much of a place bad people go to and stay for eternity. It's where people go to atone for their sins. Once they get all of that atonement done past the levels, then they reincarnate
Right.
into the world again. So it's interesting that Grimes is like that. All of these like younger magicians are like, I can't reincarnate, or like they're wasting half their lifetime to go down and find him, and he's just like, get me the fuck out of here, because they were saying like he hated he hated where they were. Also, for me personally, if I knew for a fact that reincarnation was real, I would definitely not be afraid to take my chances on a new life. Like, I probably wouldn't be afraid of dying. And then after I knew I was dead, I would be like Grimes. I'd be like, get me the fuck through this. I'm not trying to stay here forever for eternity. Go live another life.
All right. Cool.
Personally, well, what would you do? Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
that you also would be like, all right, let me move on, or what do you think it would take you time to like
I,
move on?
well, there was at one point where they could see the other side of the world through the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
and Alice kind of messed with a couple people. I think that's probably what I'd be doing.
That's what you would be doing. That's funny. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for you for sure.
I'd stay on the first level and just mess with all the people that are still alive.
Not even the first level. That's not even into the fields. You
Yeah.
haven't even made it into the fields yet. You're just like fucking with people up there.
Purgatory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a ghost.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. There you go.
All right. Chapter 3. Alice and Peter reach the wall, but the shades block their path. Forced to search for another way, they walk along the wall until they find a stretch that's unguarded by shades. Alice begins to climb with ease, her experience making the ascent almost effortless. Peter, however, is paralyzed by his fear of height. Step by step, Alice talks him upward, guiding him until at last they both reach the top. On the other side, a chaotic sea of terrain, and Peter is certain they will be swallowed whole.
Yeah, so the reason why they climb, there's a line waiting to leave the fields. All the shades are who have decided they're ready to be reincarnated are waiting to go be reincarnated and go through the levels of hell. And in this book, they say that the reason there's such a long line is because of a decline in birth rates, which is a to me, so I'm really into like philosophy and the idea of reincarnation. I do personally believe in reincarnation, so I think this is a really interesting take on reincarnation for me, because the philosophy I believe of reincarnation is that because time is not linear, that you can be reincarnated into any time period, both
Oh,
past and future, not just present.
that's interesting. So you could be
Yeah,
reincarnated and be back in, like, in the medieval times.
yeah. Or I could be
That's kind of
reincarnated to
scary.
like
If it's like
21,
that, I might, but
22.
like, well, see, if it feels like that, I might be like those other guys. I'm not sure I'd want to do that.
Really?
Not if I end up in
Yeah.
the past. No,
I
I
don't know,
like technology.
but you wouldn't remember that you like technology.
I know, but still.
I also, oh my God, recently too, someone on TikTok was saying like they believe in reincarnation because somebody who in the past invented something gets reincarnated into like present time, who reinvents something like similar to that and advances that. And that's like one of their evidence of reincarnation.
Hmm.
Like, let's say Christopher Graham Bell invented the telephone and then died and then got reincarnated into Steve Jobs. Or maybe it was the opposite. Steve Jobs invented, the Apple phone and then reincarnated and went back in time and invented the phone, because
No, but
time
then
isn't
then
linear in my
bring all
life.
kinds of crazy ass multi first kind of stuff
Well,
there.
yes, because now
Because if
don't
he
even get me.
invented the iPhone first and then went back and invented the phone, then you see you've already
But time isn't
made a
linear, and
separate
time is all
timeline.
happening all at the same time. Like, it's not happening in a chronological linear order. It's all happening all at
Right.
once. Like in The Good Place, the Jeremy Bearimy.
Right.
It's all happening all at once. So, that's kind of that's how I view it. I also think that you could get reincarnated to another universe and another planet, but we won't get into that.
Oh my gosh.
Because this can't just be the
Uh,
only form of life in the universe. But
right.
anyway, won't get into that. But that's like that's also, I think, why I love this book so much so far, and I'm so intrigued by it, because it's like making me think about all of these different philosophy reincarnation things.
Now we're getting into some Babylon 5 shit there.
Oh, really?
Because there's a race on there that believes in reincarnation also, and believes that your soul is, reincarnated, and they were in the war with humans, and they pulled a human into their ship, and they looked at his soul and saw that it was a Minbari soul.
Mm,
And so they just stopped the war right there because they didn't want to kill humans, because some of them could have Minbari souls.
I see. Go.
Yeah, crazy shit. Yeah.
Reincarnation. Also, in this chapter, we get some more solid background on Alice's character, because she is American, and I'm assuming
Right.
she's from the West. Colorado is where she
Yeah,
talks about a lot. And then
Colorado.
she talks about
Yeah.
she went to school there. I don't know if she's like from there, but she talked
She
about
went to
going to school
Cornell.
there. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, then sure. Then she is from Colorado. She went to Cornell, because she talks about being in Colorado and climbing and stuff. And Cornell is on the East Coast, right? Where's Cornell?
Yeah, Cornell's where's Cornell? I think it's some Delaware. I
One of
don't know.
those.
It's in the East Coast because it's
One
an
of
Ivy
those
League
New
school.
England. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of those New England states.
It's yeah, because it's Ivy League, as we know that because that's where Andy went from The Office, right?
Right. Right, 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 right. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I thought that was also cool.
It's in New
She's
York, Ithaca.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know it was in Ithaca. That makes sense then if Andy's working in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
But yeah, so Alice is American, which is I don't know if it's in this chapter or maybe a later chapter, an earlier chapter, which talks about how like Americans are kind of perceived as being dumb, like American magicians are seen as a little lesser than. So a little more insight on her character and how she like went to the UK to be more successful magician, and
Right, because she
maybe
wanted to
more of a
study under that certain
yeah,
professor,
and then more of a
Grimes.
fight for her, because I'm sure they look down on her for being American and a woman, which we'll get into.
Okay. Chapter 4. After climbing down, Alice and Peter found more desert and camped overnight. As she rested, Alice remembered applying to graduate school. Everyone told her Professor Grimes was merciless with his students, but she still chose him. She wanted a challenge, wanted to prove she could rise to his impossible standards. To Alice, hardship wasn't something to avoid, it was proof she was on the right path.
Yes, which this is what we find out, that her advisors in America were like, really?
Right. They were
And
advising her not to do that.
yeah,
And she did it anyway.
she did it anyway. We find out in this
Because
chapter.
she's a woman and didn't listen.
All right. Uh,
I'm joking.
I know. So we find out also that Peter has won a prestigious award, the Cook, that Grimes had seemed to make Alice sure of that she would get, which is interesting. And that, well, Alice was very upset because she didn't know that Peter won this award. It just kind of came up. So then Alice starts talking, and we find out she went to Italy with Grimes, and that Peter was supposed to do that.
Right.
There's implications that something may have happened between them, Grimes, or like Peter couldn't go for a reason, and Grimes was a little peeved about it. So he asked Alice to go instead. So they both have these close academic relationships with Grimes that they don't really seem to know about, or they don't know all the details of each other's relationships with Grimes.
Right.
And a lot of this rivalry to me seems to me come from that. And I almost was kind of getting like, is Grimes kind of like pitting them against each other? Or like, is
Well,
that like what such a
But we also don't really know exactly what their relationship is, Peter and Alice. Because it seems to me like they had some kind of romantic relationship before.
Yeah, definitely.
And then also they talk about working labs together at school. So
Hmm.
we know they have a relationship there, but there is some hinting that they had some kind of romantic relationship at some point
Yeah, they
before
had
this.
some kind of romantic relationship at some point for sure, and there was some bad falling out because she's
Right.
like they're very weird around each other now. I mean, they're being
Yeah.
respectful and they went down on this journey together, but like they're very weird, they're very hesitant. She's kind of like always annoyed by him. And then this whole thing too, I was like, I wonder what that falling out was. I wonder if like both of their separate relationships with this professor had something to do with that. It created this rivalry, created that tension. There's just a lot of questions we have about Professor Grimes, obviously. There's a lot of
Yeah. We don't know
implications
a
here
lot
that
about
he,
him.
yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of implications here that he is not that great of a guy.
Oh, well, yeah. All right, chapter 5, Peter and Alice, like this whole chapter, all they did was argue over the setup of how hell is set up and how to map it
Hmm.
out. And I put
Hmm.
also Peter woke up with a boner, which he did, and I
We
just
did.
don't really get the whole point of that part, but um
Well, again, I think it was to like imply their past relationship and like
right, because
just
they
give
slept
more
under
like
the same blanket.
awkward sexual tension, and then this
Yeah,
idea of like, because then he kept being like, I respect you, I respect you, I respect you, you know?
right.
Like
Yeah.
really trying to be like, no, like I don't want you to think that like I'm just here to fuck you. Like I respect your actual intelligence. So I think that was like the a
Yeah. I
reason
guess
why.
that's what the yeah, just to show
Yeah.
that, I guess.
Yeah.
And then after this chapter's over, there's a short treatise on hell, punishment, and reincarnation.
Hmm. But yeah, I like that moment of them trying to put together a map of hell based on both of their interpretations of it and based on their education backgrounds because Peter has a logic like math background, and then Alice
Right.
has a linguist background. So
Yeah.
you have those two ideas kind of like both of their brains working in very different ways. And she's interpreting the literature in a very different way than he is because he has more of
Right.
that logical math brain.
Guess who else
So
has a linguist background? R.F.
is it
Kuang.
R.F. Kwong?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I liked how she's doing that. I like how she's making that a theme. And I like that hell also reflects their own world because at the end of this chapter, they're like, oh, hell is a campus, right? Like
Right.
hell is turned into the first level of hell is they're at like they're on campus. So I like that it reflects their world and is therefore also interpreted different by everyone. So because she's saying like, so that's why when like in Greek mythology, it's a lot of Greece stuff going on, and in Dante's time, there were a lot of like philosophers saying that, you know, because they're all interpreting it based off of the world that they're living in at that time.
Right.
So this whole different interpretations of things seems like it's going to be a major theme for the book to me, and I like that a lot because isn't that how we read? Isn't that how we all read? We all interpret things differently.
Yes. That's why we have this discussion.
Hmm. Exactly. And I mean, I would even venture to say you're much more of a Peter, and I'm much more of an Alex.
Sure. All right, chapter 6. In the pride level of hell, Alice and Peter find themselves inside a vast library where shades must define the meaning of quote unquote the good in order to pass on to the next level. There they meet George Edward Moore, who has made himself the dean of the place. He admits he hasn't seen anyone succeed since his arrival, however long ago that was. Moore insists that Peter should also become a dean and help him maintain the endless shelves, refusing to let them leave his office. Thinking quickly, Alice poses a logic problem that absorbs Moore's attention long enough for them to slip away. So, yeah, this guy was kind of crazy. He decided to stay on that level and just kind of run things there at the library. And he wanted Peter to stay with him because he was a Cambridge man.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know what time period this guy is from. I would guess it's probably like the 30s or 40s.
Maybe he's smoking a pipe. He was a Trinity,
Yeah.
so he's Irish. He went
Ah,
to Trinity. I've been to Trinity. Trinity College.
Yeah.
But yes, also we get that sense too because we're touching on a lot of misogyny here with him in this chapter as well. Because he's like practically ignoring Alice because Alice also went to
Right.
Cambridge and he just does not care. And
Yeah.
I meant to say in there, I was as fed up as she was. Like, I was as fed up with her, with him as Alice was. But turns out she's more clever than the both of those boys by giving him his endless logic puzzle to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really funny. And it was really funny how he was driving himself crazy about it. So, go girl. I also think, just throwing this out there, I think that defining the meaning of the good will come back again later on
Mm.
because they touch
Maybe.
so much on it. And then it's like, no, you have to define. This guy's going crazy about it in the bookshelves at one point. Like,
Oh
no, you
yeah.
have to in order to pass, and nobody can figure it out. And then they even Peter starts to try and figure it out, and say, I think this might come back up later. So.
Maybe.
And then it's also like, how did Grimes get through? Did Grimes figure it out? Or did he just like bust right through like they did?
Well, that was another thing they said is it depends on your sins.
Right.
Maybe he did not have the sin of pride, so he doesn't
Oh,
have to
yeah,
worry about that
because
level.
she did say, like, because based off of the like petty pride that all of those people
Right.
had, she was like, he doesn't have petty pride. And in fact, he
Right.
kind of like squashed the petty pride out of her.
Right. So he may not have
Yeah.
had to go to
Atone
that
much
level
for
at
that.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't know. And I think another theme or another like thing in this book too is they have no idea what his sins were or like how bad they were. They're kind of
Right.
just guessing, and they both know their own stories because it feels like Grimes did something to Alice, or like I'm getting like kind of a weird vibe that something in between Alice and Professor Grimes that she doesn't want to talk about or think about. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that they're trying to navigate is like, well, we don't, who are we to say what his sins are, you know?
Right. All right. Chapter 7. Alice and Peter reach the river Lethe. I guess that's how you pronounce that. Lethe. I don't know if it's Lethe, Lethe. We'll go with Lethe, which flows through every level of hell. There they see Ming Po, the old guardian who brews teas from its waters so shades can forget their past lives before reincarnation. So yeah, if you even touch the water, it will make you lose all your memories. Alice, entranced, begins moving toward her until Peter pulls her back. They continue along the river toward the next level, Desire. On the way, 3 skeletal dog-like creatures made out of chalk appear. One attacks Peter, but they escape. The chalk bodies make Alice suspect a magician created them that might be watching them. There is then a short treatise on different types of chalk and a note that there is no evidence of chalk working in hell at the end of that short little section. So this is weird. The chalk creatures are weird to me. Of course, I don't think we know much about them yet and may find out more later, but they are very strange.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that it's like somebody knows they're down there and trying to stop them or is watching them.
Yeah, and
And
who is
then
that?
I don't know,
Who could
maybe
that
it's
possibly be?
Grimes. Maybe. Oh, maybe it's
I
Grimes.
don't know.
Grimes is like, stop following me. I want to die. I want to be reincarnated. Leave me alone. I don't know. I don't know either. I don't have many big theories about it yet.
Hmm.
But I do wonder why Alice was so affected by Ming Po and Peter wasn't. Like,
Yeah,
why was she so drawn to forgetting and Peter was?
and Peter ended up saving her from that, right? Pulling her
Mhm.
away from it. And I don't know if that's just kind of like where we saw Alice had to help him climb up because he had a fear of heights. And then this is Peter. Maybe this is just a way to show that they're trying to help each other because
Yeah,
Alice helped him and then he helped her here.
but
So it's kind of
Alice,
payback
but
kind of
only
thing.
Alice could see Ming Po. Like Peter couldn't even see her. Like, why did she appear to Alice and not Peter?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was just a plot device to show that since Peter helped her get away from it, it could have just been a plot device to show that they're helping each other. Both are helping in the ways that they can. I don't know. Could be more to it, like you
Yeah, no,
might be thinking, but
yeah, I
yeah,
think that goes way deeper because that's such a like,
it probably does.
why
But
does she want to forget so bad versus Peter just has a fear of heights and like it was like a
right.
physical tangible thing versus this is like, oh, like is there some kind of deeper thing going on here and like Alice
Could be.
wants to die? I don't know. So I'm interested how that will come back up again. And I mean, I also feel like maybe there's something a little bit deeper about Peter's fear of heights too, and like that whole scene too. But we'll see. We've only finished the first circle of hell. There's 7 more. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I was so upset again to stop reading. I was like, oh, I want to read this. I was so mad. Because I think if we weren't doing this for the podcast, I would have already been done with it by now. I probably would have read this book in like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and again, like I said, I really love Dante's Inferno. And honestly, it gives more Dante's Inferno than it does anything else, I think, based off the other like ones that I've read. Because I know a lot about the Greek mythology too. So she's really kind of R.F. Kuang is following a big Dante's Inferno style.
Yeah.
I think Dante does it the best of the layers of hell are just really cool. And obviously, because we're still talking about it and making books about it to this day. So I think it makes me really excited because it reminds me of reading Dante's Inferno when I was a teenager. So I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. I don't think we had to read that in school back in the day.
Well, we only had to read it because I was in International Baccalaureate. So it wasn't like normal school curriculum. It was IB curriculum.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah. So that's why. I had to read Dante's Inferno. We had to read like Candide, like all that like old classical stuff.
I see.
Except that I feel like most people wouldn't read until they're in college.
Right.
Yeah, but you should read Dante's Inferno. It's really good. You'd probably like it.
Yeah. I was thinking about it after this. I might want to read it.
I mean, it's old, so it's kind of hard, but it's still fun. And Dante is it's funny because it's a comedy. And
maybe I just need to get that video game from your old teacher.
Yeah, maybe I should email Mr. Nance. But he puts a bunch of like people in hell, and like it's just really funny because the people that he like puts in hell and why are really funny. Because it's also a trilogy, so he has his journey. He's journeying through the whole afterlife. So he's like journeying through hell and then purgatory and then heaven. Yeah,
that's what I figured because she also put some people still in that pride level because she mentioned a couple of bigger names. I can't remember exactly who they were.
Yeah, like Socrates, the philosophers.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's why Dante puts the philosophers in the first circle of pride because they just can't get over themselves and their philosophy and everything. Yeah, so it's really funny. And the way that he like talks, it's funny. It's really funny. So I do highly recommend reading it.
Okay.
To you and to whoever's listening, go read Dante's Inferno. It's good.
Yeah, Grandma's probably listening. Tell her to read it.
Grandma, read Dante's Inferno. LOL. All right. Well, that's all, folks.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's episode of Dad and Daughter Reads, a book club podcast. Thanks for joining us as we kicked off Katabasis by R.F. Kuang with chapters 1 through 7. Just a reminder of our reading schedule going forward: September 7th through the 13th, chapters 8 through 14. September 14th through the 20th, chapters 15 through 21. September 21st through 27 is chapters 22 through 28. And September 28th through October 4th is chapters 29 through 35. So grab your book, read along with us, and get ready for next week's discussion. In the meantime, you can find us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and in our Discord. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and happy reading.
Our intro music is Upbeat Funk, performed by Mikhail Smusev, and our outro music is Lo-Fi Chill, medium version, performed by Bodan Kuzmin. You can find both tracks on pixabay.com. Thanks for joining us, family, and we'll see you next week.